A huge thank you to patron Noreen23505 for suggesting today's video topic. If you want to suggest a topic for next Wednesday's Name Explain video, all you have to do is support Name Explain on Patreon for $1 a month. Find out more by visiting patreon.com/Name Explain, which will be linked down below. Anyway, there are words in the English lexicon that sound like singular letters. Think of I as in the thing you see out of and how it sounds like the letter I, or bee as in the yellow and black insects which have totally normal relationships with CGI women, that sounds like the letter B. This got me thinking, are there words which sound like all 26 letters of the English alphabet? In this video, for a bit of fun, we are going to do our best at finding at least one word that when said out loud is a homophone for a letter of the alphabet. Going into this video, I knew finding a word for some of these letters would be easier than others. In some cases, we have multiple words to choose from. For some other letters, meanwhile, I'm going to have to be a bit more creative with finding something that fits the bill. My guide in all of this is the Oxford English Dictionary. If it's in there, then it counts as a word in my eyes. Also, this video is going to be simply highlighting these words as opposed to explaining their origins. We have 26 words to cover here, so we kind of need to keep up the pace. And besides, a lot of them are fairly self-explanatory anyway. With all that in mind, logically, the best place to start would be with the letter A, and this is a super easy one, as A unto itself is a word. Not only is it a word, it's one of the words we say and hear most commonly. A is used as an indefinite article, often heard before a noun or something. Like, look up there, there's a bird in the sky. We all know about A as a word, and it's a really easy one to kick things off with. B is pretty easy too. We already mentioned bees, the insects, and on top of that, there's also the word of be, as in to be or not to be. C is another one that gives us multiple obvious options. And it's also the first we come across in which the word that sounds like the letter doesn't actually feature the letter in it anywhere. We have sea as in to look at something, and the sea as in the big bodies of salty water, but not too big, otherwise they become an ocean. It's a whole thing. Then we arrive at D. D is the first hurdle in all of this. Unlike what came before, there's no obvious ones that come straight to mind. D has become a commonly heard first name as a shortening of Deandra, and just the D has become slang for a certain part of the body. But to keep things good and proper, I consulted the OED and found the word with D in there. This is apparently the name for a D-shaped iron or steel loop used for connecting harnesses and saddles. If it's good enough for the OED, then it's good enough for me. And yeah, slight spoiler, many of the more tricky letters to find words for are in the OED and directly relate to the letter in some form. That's kind of boring, I know, but we're here right now to find at least one answer, not to find a good one. How dare you presume this was going to be a fun video? This is a very serious video and I'm a very serious person. But moving ahead, we have the letter E. E, spelt with two E's, can be found as a word and is used as an interjection when someone is excited, as in E, look at all these words that sound like letters. The letter F as a word once again heavily relates to the letter itself. F, spelled E-F-F, appears in the OED and is used as an alternative to a swear word. You know the one I'm thinking about. And if you don't believe me, go check yourself. I F you not, it's there. G is found as a word too. To G is a verb and apparently is used in the word of horses and is said to direct a horse in a specific location, as in I had to G my horse back to the stable. If you happen to ride a horse, let me know if you've heard this one before. I honestly think if I ever got on a horse, I'd fall off and break every bone in my body and then wet myself or something. H is one of the most unique letters when spelled as a word. The correct way of doing so is A-I-T-C-H. This is because the letter is pronounced like this and not as H, as many people believe. Honestly, the pronunciation of this letter could be a video onto itself. But in regards to H as a word, it's in there spelled as A-I-T-C-H and is simply defined as being the name of the letter H. Once again, this isn't really a fun answer, but it helps us get across the finish line. H as a single letter appears in the OED too, meaning various things ranging from horizontal force to representing the element of hydrogen. H has also picked up traction in the wrestling community, in relation to a guy named after 3 of these letters. The next letter of I, meanwhile, doesn't prove as tricky. We already mentioned I as in eyeballs, but just I is used as a word to represent yourself, as in, why am I still attempting to do this silly video idea? We also have this word spelled A-Y-E. This means yes, or is just generally used as a positive interjection. What's interesting about this one is the fact it can be said to sound like the letter I. Think of a pirate saying it. And it can also be said to sound like the letter A. Think of the Fonz saying it. This may very well be the only word in English which sounds like 2 different singular letters, unless there's a super obvious one I'm forgetting about at this time, which is always a possibility. J, meanwhile, is another super easy one to figure out. J is the name of a kind of bird and crops up in all different species of this same family. Think of a blue jay or a Canadian jay or even just a jay, correctly named a Eurasian jay. K is used as a word too. Spelt K-A-Y, it has has a couple of meanings, one very old and one relatively new. Apparently in the past it was used in the north of England to mean left hand or foot. Instead of saying someone is left-handed, you would have said they were K-handed. Its more modern usage is a shortening of the word OK, commonly heard online and sometimes shortened to just the letter K. I don't know if this is still relevant, but in the late 2000s, early 2010s, there was nothing worse than getting the K dot message from someone. If that happened, you'd really tick them off. Finding a word that sounds like the letter L, meanwhile, is really frustrating. There is one out there that is widely used across the globe, that being el, as in the Spanish word for there. This is all well and good, but we have a slight issue here. We are looking for English words, and despite how widely understood and known of this Spanish el is in the English-speaking world, it's not technically an English word. It's not even in the OED as a borrowed word from Spanish. Well, not directly anyway. While el meaning the in Spanish isn't in the OED, el as a pseudo-Spanish term used colloquially in English is. It's a really roundabout way of getting there, but who cares? You're in. Words that reflect the letters of M and N were found in another niche category, that being in the world of typography. M and N, spelled EM and EN, are used in typography as units of measurement, with an M being a square that could fit its titular letter in, and N being half of that square. Fitting, as the letter N does look somewhat like half the letter M. I know minimal about typography, so if someone with a better understanding can shine some light on this one, that would be appreciated. Whatever the case, these are both in the OED, making a real two-birds one stone situation. Hello all, sorry to interrupt the middle of this video, but I'm currently editing this video as we speak. Here's my audio file making it sound all good and proper, and I noticed this is the 1000th video on Name Explain. I don't know if you can read that there, but that says 999 videos, meaning this is the 1000th video of all the ones I've made on the channel, and wow, that's incredible. I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and we've hit a huge milestone in video production. I have loved making each and every one of those 1000 videos, and I'm honoured to be able to do this for so long, be able to make it to this milestone. So I just wanted to highlight that here because I didn't even realise I was in the middle of doing this. I'm literally like, if I knew, I would have dressed it nicer. I'm currently in my big Art Attack red jumper with food stains on it. So yeah, just wanted to highlight that there for a moment. Thank you all so much. Anyway, should we carry on with the video? The letter O is once again used as an interjection, spelled OH, and we say in surprise like, oh, we're still finding words for every letter of the alphabet. It's an easy one and it gets the job done. The letter P is easy to find a result for too. A pea is a little green round vegetable, and its name perfectly reflects this letter. There's also PEE too, which is a slang term for fluid waste, shall we say. Q, despite being one of the less common words in the alphabet, is another super easy letter to find a word for. AQ is a line people wait in, found in places like supermarkets, theme parks, and to look at a coffin for like 5 seconds after being in said queue for over 24 hours in some cases. Seriously, this happened. It has its own Wikipedia page and everything. I also remember reading somewhere that some argue that Q is the word with the most silent letters in it, which is hard to disagree with, I suppose. R is another super easy one too. R, spelled A-R-E, is used all the time in questions, like, are we still doing this thing? And R, spelled O-U-R, is used in relation to something you own, like even our dog is bored of this concept at this point. S, meanwhile, kind of has the opposite problem as the letter Q. It's one of the most used letters in the alphabet, but there isn't a standout option for it as a standalone word. The OED features the word S, spelled E-S-S, and is defined as something that is in the shape of an S. It's a bit boring, but once again, it ticks the box. T, thankfully, is much easier to figure out. There's tea as in the drink beloved in Britain, tea as in the thing golf balls are put on, and a t-shirt is commonly referred to as just a T too. I really shouldn't need to explain to you what word sounds like the letter U, but in case you really didn't pick up on the obvious one, then we also have the word spelled U, spelled E-W-E, which is the name of a female sheep. V is once again a tricky one. We see V, spelled V-E-E, in the dictionary, simply meaning something in the shape of a letter V. But then we arrive at W. This is undoubtedly the weirdest letter of a whole alphabet. We have a whole video about it. It's also the one letter which has a name of multiple syllables. If you had to spell this letter's name out, it would be something like D-O-U-B L-E space or hyphen Y-O-U. This doesn't appear in the OED. What we can find, however, is W, spelt double space the letter U. This is defined as meaning the name of the letter W. It's another boring one, but apparently is also used as a colloquial name for a WC, a term for the toilet meaning water closet. As a single letter, W is also used in the world of sports as a shortening for win, as in my team just got the W, but even this isn't completely valid because more often than not, this gets shortened to just the dub as opposed to the W. Like I said, W is a really weird letter, but thankfully we have some options. X is another uncommon letter, but it has gained popularity as a word. X, spelled EX, started life as a prefix meaning former, like ex-employee. Today, however, X is used as a standalone word, most often linked to people you previously had romantic relations with. Y is another easy one, as we have the questioning word of why. And finally, we have the letter Z, or Z if you want to be really difficult. Both pronunciations are represented as words in the OED, spelled Z-E-D and Z-E-E respectively, and are simply defined as names for this one letter. So, is there a word for every letter of the alphabet? Yes. Well, yes if we want to be technical about it. In reality, only a selection of these letters have words which sound like them that are commonly known of and don't directly relate to the letters themselves. For every J meaning a bird and C meaning salty water, we have a D meaning a loop shaped like a D, and an S meaning something in the shape of an S. But now I'm trying to rack my brain for the longest sentence I can make of just words that sound like single letters. The best I could come up with is, "Oh, are you a JIC?" which is something an excited birdwatcher might say. But let me know if you can think of any better ones down below. Name Explain depends on viewers like yourself supporting the channel financially on Patreon, so a huge thank you to everyone who does. Donating just $1 a month helps the channel amazingly and gets you bonuses including ad-free videos, exclusive content, the power to request ideas to be made into actual Name Explain videos, and your name at the end of the video with all these awesome people. Visit patreon.com/NameExplain or click the link down below to find out how you too can support the channel. Thank you. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. Why not watch another and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Name Explain. You can find myself on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT and join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain to talk with myself and other name nerds. All that will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and once again, thank you all so much.